Deep in the underground laboratories of a top-secret government facility, a team of scientists gathered around a massive machine. The contraption was unlike anything they had ever seen before. A towering metallic structure bristling with wires, tubes, and blinking lights. Its purpose: to open a portal to another dimension. The lead scientist, Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, looked on nervously as her team ran through the final checks. She knew the risks involved, the potential for catastrophic failure, the danger of unleashing unknown entities into our world, but she couldn't resist the lure of the unknown. She had to know what was out there. As her team began the experiment, she watched with bated breath as the machine hummed to life. The air crackled with energy, and a bright, pulsing light filled the room. And then, with a deafening roar, the portal opened. At first, everything seemed fine. The scientists exchanged excited glances as they gazed into the swirling vortex, marveling at the possibilities. But then, something emerged from the portal. Something dark and malevolent and hungry. Before anyone could react, the creature lunged forward, its tendrils lashing out and grasping at the scientists. The room filled with screams and chaos as the team tried to fight off the creature, but it was no use. The thing was too powerful, too otherworldly. In the end, only a handful of scientists managed to escape the lab alive. But they knew that they had unleashed something beyond their comprehension, something that would haunt them for the rest of their days. They had opened a door to the unknown, and they couldn't be sure that it would ever truly be closed. And with that, the stage was set for the horrors that would follow. The experiment had been a success, but at what cost? The story follows a team of scientists who experiment with a machine that can open portals to other dimensions. They're led by Dr. Ryan Peters, a brilliant but ambitious physicist who sees the portal as a way to revolutionize science as we know it. As they activate the machine, the air crackles with energy, and a pulsing light fills the room. Slowly, the portal opens, revealing a dark and ominous world beyond. The team is thrilled by the possibilities, but their excitement is short-lived. Before they can properly observe the other side, a terrifying creature bursts through the portal, grasping at the scientists with its long, razor-sharp tentacles. Chaos ensues as the team tries to fight off the creature, but it's too powerful. The survivors quickly realize that they're trapped in a hostile world, where they're hunted by the monstrous creatures that inhabit it. They must navigate the treacherous landscape and find a way to close the portal before it's too late. As they explore this other dimension, they discover that the creatures are not the only danger they face. There are also strange and otherworldly forces that seem to be manipulating their surroundings, making it harder for them to survive. Despite the challenges, the team manages to hold their ground and fight back against the horrors that surround them. But as they continue to explore this dark and foreboding world, they begin to realize that the creatures they face are just the tip of the iceberg. There are even darker secrets lurking just beyond the veil, and they might not make it back to their own world alive. The story follows a crew of astronauts on a mission to explore a distant planet. They've been sent to gather data and search for signs of life, but when they arrive, they find something much more sinister. As they explore the planet's surface, they discover the ruins of an ancient civilization. The buildings are massive and imposing, and there are strange markings etched into the walls. The crew realizes that they've stumbled upon something that was meant to be left alone. Despite their misgivings, they continue to explore the ruins, hoping to uncover the secrets of this long-dead civilization. But as they delve deeper, they begin to experience strange and terrifying visions. They see glimpses of a horrific event that occurred here long ago, something that should have remained buried forever. As they try to make sense of what they're seeing, they receive a transmission from their ship. It's a distress signal, and it's coming from the planet's surface. The crew knows that they're the only ones here, so who could be sending the signal? They race back to their ship, but as they approach, they see that something has gone terribly wrong. The crew members who stayed behind to monitor the ship are dead, their bodies twisted and mangled. And the transmission is still coming through, a chilling reminder of the horror that they've uncovered. As they try to piece together what happened, the crew realizes that they're not alone on this planet. There's something out there, something that wants them dead. and as they fight to survive, they realize that the ancient civilization they uncovered was destroyed by the same force that's now hunting them. In a desperate bid for survival, the crew sets out to destroy the source of the transmission and put an end to the horror that's engulfed this once promising planet. But as they face off against an otherworldly enemy, they know that this may be their last transmission. The story follows a young woman named Sarah, who is haunted by vivid and disturbing nightmares. She seeks the help of a psychiatrist, Dr. Mason, who specializes in dream analysis. As Dr. Mason delves deeper into Sarah's dreams, he discovers that they are not just dreams at all, but memories. Sarah has been the victim of a sinister experiment in which a microchip was implanted in her brain. The chip is designed to monitor her thoughts and emotions, allowing a shadowy organization to control her actions. Dr. Mason knows that he must help Sarah remove the chip before it's too late. Together, they embark on a dangerous journey to uncover the truth behind the implant. They discover that the organization behind the implant has a nefarious agenda, one that could threaten the very fabric of society. As they race against time to remove the chip, they're pursued by the organization's agents, who will stop at nothing to protect their secret. They're also forced to confront Sarah's past, including the traumatic events that led to her becoming a target for the implant. In the end, Dr. Mason and Sarah must face the organization head-on, fighting for their lives and the fate of humanity. They must use all their skills and knowledge to outwit their enemies and remove the implant before it's too late. But even as they succeed in removing the chip, they're left wondering if the organization was the only one behind the implant. They realize that there may be other forces at work, and that they may have only scratched the surface of a much larger conspiracy. The story follows a group of survivors who find themselves stranded in a post-apocalyptic world. They've lost everything they held dear, their families, homes, and communities. Now they must fight to survive in a harsh and unforgiving landscape. As they journey through the desolate wasteland, they encounter a strange phenomenon. A rift has opened, leading to a parallel world that's a mirror image of their own. The survivors must navigate this new world, hoping to find a way back to their own reality. But as they explore this new world, they begin to realize that it's not as similar to their own as they thought. There are subtle but significant differences, and it's not just the landscape that's changed. As they try to find a way back to their own reality, they realize that they're not alone in this other world. There are other survivors here, but they're not the friendly faces they were hoping for. The other survivors are hostile, and they see the newcomers as a threat. The two groups are forced to confront each other, fighting for survival in a world that's already taken everything from them. As the tension between the groups grows, the survivors realize that they must find a way back to their own reality before it's too late. But as they continue to explore this new world, they discover a horrifying truth. The rift that brought them here is unstable, and it's expanding, threatening to consume both worlds. The survivors must band together, putting aside their differences, and work to find a way to stabilize the rift before it's too late. They must also confront the dark and mysterious force that's behind the rift, one that's been manipulating them from the very beginning. In a final, desperate effort, the survivors must face off against this unknown enemy, fighting for the fate of both worlds. Only by working together can they hope to save themselves and the ones they love. The story follows a young couple, John and Emily, who move into a new house. The house seems perfect, but they quickly realize that something is not right. Strange things start happening in the house, and Emily begins to feel like she's being watched. Her behavior becomes increasingly erratic, and John worries that something is wrong with her. As the days go by, Emily's behavior becomes more and more concerning. She starts to speak in a different voice, and John realizes that she's been possessed by a malevolent entity. Desperate to save Emily, John seeks the help of a priest who performs an exorcism. But the exorcism doesn't work, and the entity inside Emily grows stronger. John realizes that he must find a way to defeat the entity himself. He seeks out the help of an expert in the occult, who reveals that the house is built on a site of great evil and that the entity has been drawn to it. Together, John and the expert must perform a dangerous ritual to banish the entity from the house. But as they do so, they realize that the entity is not alone. There are other spirits trapped in the house, and they are just as malevolent as the one possessing Emily. The battle to save Emily and banish the spirits becomes increasingly dangerous as John and the expert face off against the supernatural forces that threaten their very lives. They must use all their knowledge and skills to defeat the spirits, or risk being trapped in the house forever. In a thrilling and terrifying finale, John and the expert confront the evil forces that have possessed Emily and the house. They must use all their strength and courage to banish the spirits and save themselves from a fate worse than death. The story follows a group of scientists who have been studying a new type of insect. These insects, called swarmers, are unique in that they can communicate with each other in ways that other insects can't. As the scientists continue to study the swarmers, they begin to realize that the insects are becoming increasingly aggressive. They're attacking anything that comes near them, and their numbers are growing at an alarming rate. The scientists soon realize that the swarmers are not just a new species of insect, but a dangerous threat to the entire planet. They must find a way to stop them before they destroy everything in their path, but the swarmers are not easily stopped. They're too numerous, too aggressive, and too intelligent. The scientists must use all their knowledge and expertise to find a weakness in the swarmers' behavior and exploit it. As they work to find a solution, the swarmers continue to spread, killing and destroying everything in their path. The scientists must act quickly before it's too late. In a final, desperate effort, the scientists develop a plan to lure the swarmers into a trap. They use their knowledge of the insect's behavior to set up a trap that will kill as many swarmers as possible. The plan works, but not without sacrifice. Several of the scientists are killed in the process, but they manage to take down a significant portion of the swarmers. As the remaining scientists work to clean up the aftermath of the swarmers' attack, they realize that they must continue to study the insects. The swarmers are unlike anything they've ever encountered, and they must learn as much as they can to prevent another attack in the future. The story ends with a final, chilling revelation. The swarmers were not a natural occurrence, but rather the result of a failed experiment. The scientists must confront the horrifying truth that their own actions led to the creation of a monster that threatened the very existence of life on Earth. The story follows a small town that becomes the center of a deadly outbreak. People are falling ill, and it's quickly spreading to everyone in the town. At first, the illness seems like a common flu, but it soon becomes clear that it's much more dangerous. The infected people become violent and aggressive, attacking others and spreading the disease. The protagonist, a young nurse named Sarah, is one of the few uninfected people left in the town. She's determined to find a cure for the illness and save as many people as she can. As the outbreak continues to spread, Sarah joins forces with a small group of survivors, including a doctor and a military veteran. Together, they work to find a cure for the illness and stop the infected from spreading it. Their efforts are complicated by the fact that the military has taken over the town and quarantined it. They're not letting anyone out or in, and they're prepared to use deadly force to prevent the spread of the disease. Sarah and her group must navigate the dangerous and deadly landscape of the town, avoiding the infected and the military, all while searching for a cure. As they work to find a cure, they begin to uncover the horrifying truth behind the outbreak. The infection was not a natural occurrence, but rather the result of a secret government experiment gone wrong. The experiment was designed to create a super soldier, but it resulted in a deadly virus that was spreading out of control. Sarah and her group must confront the government officials responsible for the experiment and stop the virus before it destroys the entire world. In a thrilling and action-packed climax, Sarah and her group confront the government officials and the infected. They must fight their way through both to stop the virus and save the town. In the end, Sarah and her group are successful in finding a cure and stopping the virus. They become heroes, hailed by the survivors of the town, but they're left with the haunting realization that the government is capable of creating a deadly virus that could wipe out the entire world. The story follows a group of scientists who are working on a new type of genetic modification technology. They're creating a mutagen that can alter the DNA of living organisms, with the hope of using it to cure diseases and enhance human abilities. As the scientists continue to work on the mutagen, they begin to notice strange side effects. The animals they've tested it on have become stronger and more aggressive, and some have even mutated into new species. The situation spirals out of control when the mutagen is accidentally released into the environment and it starts to affect people. The people who are exposed to the mutagen begin to develop superhuman abilities, but they also become violent and unstable. The protagonist, a young woman named Maya, is one of the people who's been exposed to the mutagen. She's struggling to control her newfound abilities, all while dealing with the emotional turmoil of watching her friends and family become infected and dangerous. Maya joins forces with a group of other mutants, each with their own unique abilities. Together, they work to find a way to stop the spread of the mutagen and reverse its effects. Their efforts are complicated by the fact that the government has taken notice of the mutagen and is determined to capture and experiment on the mutants. Maya and her group must navigate the dangerous and deadly landscape of the city, avoiding the government and the infected, all while searching for a cure. As they work to find a cure, they begin to uncover the horrifying truth behind the mutagen. The scientists who created it were not motivated by a desire to help people, but rather by greed and the desire for power. They created the mutagen with the hope of creating an army of superhumans that they could control and use for their own purposes. In a thrilling and action-packed climax, Maya and her group confront the scientists and the government, fighting to stop the spread of the mutagen and protect themselves from being captured and experimented on. In the end, Maya and her group are successful in finding a cure and stopping the spread of the mutagen. They become heroes, hailed by the survivors of the city, but they're left with the haunting realization that science can be dangerous and that the pursuit of power can lead to unimaginable horrors. The story follows a group of people who are living in a small town in rural America. One day, strange lights appear in the sky, and soon after, an alien spacecraft crashes nearby. The town becomes the center of a terrifying invasion as the aliens begin to attack and abduct the town's people. The protagonist, a young man named Jack, is one of the few survivors of the initial attack. Jack and his group of survivors must fight for their lives against the alien invaders, who are armed with advanced technology and seem to be nearly unstoppable. As they work to evade the aliens and stay alive, Jack and his group begin to learn more about the aliens' motivations. They discover that the aliens are not just attacking their town, but they are also invading other parts of the world. Jack and his group realize that they must band together with other survivors from other parts of the world if they are going to have any chance of stopping the invasion. They make contact with other groups of survivors and work to come up with a plan to stop the aliens. However, the aliens seem to be one step ahead of them at every turn, making their situation seem increasingly hopeless. In a thrilling and action-packed climax, Jack and his group of survivors confront the aliens in a final battle, fighting to save not just their town, but the entire world. In the end, Jack and his group are successful in defeating the aliens and saving the world from destruction. They become heroes, hailed by the survivors of the invasion, but they're left with the haunting realization that they may never truly be safe from the threat of extraterrestrial invaders. The story has ended, but the aftermath of the events that have transpired will continue to have an impact on the world and the characters. In the aftermath of the experiment, the scientists who were involved are held accountable for their actions, and there are consequences for their reckless pursuit of knowledge and power. Maya and the other mutants are hailed as heroes, but they must also grapple with the changes that have been wrought upon them. They must find a way to integrate into a world that may not fully accept them. As for the town that was invaded by aliens, it will never be the same. The survivors must rebuild their community and their lives and come to terms with the traumatic events that they have experienced. Jack and his group of survivors have become a tight-knit family, bonded by the shared trauma of the invasion. They will continue to work together to rebuild their world and protect it from future threats. The story ends with the characters reflecting on the events that have transpired and the lessons that they have learned. They have all been changed by what they've experienced, but they are stronger for it. The world is not the same as it was before the events of the story, but it's a world that is capable of resilience and adaptation. The characters have all been tested, and they've come out on the other side with a newfound appreciation for life and the people they share it with.